Hello, everyone. Welcome to Going D1 Real Recruiting Stories with Joel Groon and Gunnar Groon. Today, we're fortunate enough to have Howard Kinsler on the podcast, who is the father of Ian Kinsler, who's a renowned shortstop. And Howard has watched his career from youth sports all the way through college and the pros, and has unique insights to it. So welcome, Howard. Thanks for joining us. This is episode 10, and love to kind of hear maybe a little bit about your story and Ian's story, and kind of his path to success. That would be awesome to hear.
Awesome. I'm glad there's a place trying to develop information for people that have questions and are in the middle of navigating through youth and high school and college, because the average person isn't into the inner workings of it all. So starting, I'll use my son as an example, and I don't like to, because everybody goes through a different path. Everybody has a different journey, whether it's playing youth and never again, whether it's playing youth in high school and never again. Things occur during that time period that impact things like relationships, attitude, loyalty, connecting with people, all of those good things that should be good things are in the playpen, so to speak, for the player and the parents.
Right. Absolutely.
So, yeah. So my experience, well, my education is, I have a bachelor's degree in education from University of Arizona, major in psychology and human behavior. So my dream was always to help people. When I retired, this is my making a ship in the garage hobby, is baseball. It's just been a part of me for a long time. So to start the story with Ian, he excelled, but didn't make an impression. By that I mean, you could see, as an ex-athlete, you could see he had athleticism. You can see that he had the drive and loved it. And so I'm able to now, I'll say, train him and see how far he can go. Of course,
Right.
he got further than I ever expected. And he'll tell you that to this day when he says, "Dad, you never thought I could make it." And having played sports and at a high level, I know what the percentages are. So I said, "Ian, I would love to tell you there's nothing. I don't want you to get a job. I don't want you to do anything. Don't even do your homework. Just play baseball, because you think you're going to be a Major League Baseball player." Little did I know, he did. So I had to give him, and this is part of the parenting thing, he had to hear something about there's other things in life that are going to come your way that aren't related to baseball. And it could be selling used cars, or
Right.
it could be working in a business office. So he needed to hear that and not throw all his eggs in one basket. So he was able to get far enough to say, "Dad, you didn't think I could make it." And I said, "Well, I had to be dad once in a while. I had to tell you reality." So the happiest and proudest moment is what that turned into.
Right.
So as a youth, I trained him. I did all the baseball stuff, all the drills, et cetera, et cetera. Played Little League, was one of the better players, but still, he was not a very physical kid. He was skinny and small, but he had, I thought, amazing skill. And as he kept growing and getting older, he continued to have a difficult time being recognized as one of the best players because
Right.
the neighborhood had a lot of good players and the neighborhood had a lot of big, strong kids. So when he was in middle school, there were kids still way bigger than him. And he made, of course, the middle school team. But then it was time for high school. This is another related item for parents. Understand high school. We'll get back to youth in a minute, but high school is a very trying time for the whole family. The freshmen are not going to play varsity. Parents think he's better than the varsity players. But what parents aren't allowing themselves to understand and get perspective is he's still only 15 years old.
Yeah.
The senior is 18 years old and has been playing longer and is more socially adjusted and understands what it takes than the freshman. So most schools, they don't play freshmen as often, unless they're in need of freshmen or the freshman is Bryce Hall. So you got to be prepared for high school. You don't, my son did not touch the field until he was a junior in high school. So understanding that
So did he play JV his freshman and sophomore year?
he played freshman his freshman year.
Right,
they
right.
JV. They had 5 other guys from his varsity made Major League Baseball. There's no other school.
Wow.
I think. And I'm talking about play. They were in
Yeah.
quite a few. So, and he was the lowest on the totem pole. But his freshman year, he played. His sophomore, after his freshman year, they brought him up for the state finals and let him just sit on the bench and didn't play, just to get him ready. This is all part of a process that parents need to understand that what coaches are doing is in line with their philosophy and understanding of how to make a team. I don't know a coach alive that in high school goes to games thinking, I don't think I'm going to play my best 9 players today. So
No.
we take it so personally that he's playing 8 of the right guys, but that 9th guy is wrong. It should be my son.
Right.
Understanding freshmen are not going to play. He was brought up just for the end of the season and then made the varsity his sophomore year. Never touched the field. Never played a game.
So he didn't play at all his sophomore year. He just practiced with the team.
Just practicing with the team. He may have had a little pinch hit or come in hit a lot. But I knew what the coach was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So his junior year, he comes back and he's now going to be the shortstop. We thought, listen to the story, parents, because I went through it too. We thought when the season started, this kid by the name of Scott Hairston, whose whole family played Major League Baseball, moved into our neighborhood and came to our high school, which was known to have good baseball players. So the coach said, Ian, I hate to tell you this, but you're playing second base. I know I've told you you're the shortstop. Scott might get drafted. Move to second base. Thank God I had some sort of background in education and I didn't go to the coach. What are you doing? I knew what he was doing and I understood it. You got to try to put yourself in that position as a parent. So there he is, his junior year playing and a senior year playing. And I had it easy because my son was playing. Then he goes to junior college. No, I'm sorry. This is a long story. I hope you have a lot of tape.
We got time. We got time.
High school to junior college because no offers from anyone. He led the city in hitting. He hit like almost 500.
Wow.
He was still skinny. Still don't know if his. Go ahead.
So when did he get the offer from? Was it Central Arizona?
Yes.
So when did he get that offer?
Not right after school.
Oh, okay.
I would say during the summer sometime.
Okay.
Late.
Okay. Summer before the fall of his first year of college.
Yes, come play with us. So he went. Guess who the shortstop was at that time? Scott Hairston. The kid.
Oh, wow.
Ian said, I said, Ian, Scott's playing short. He said, I don't care. I'm going. And when he got there, as a matter of fact, I just heard this the other night because we were talking about it. He said, I told them I'm a shortstop. They should move Scott to second base. I said, that's pretty cocky of you. You play shortstop. Scott moved to second base.
Wow. Worked
One
out.
year, yeah. 1 year in junior college, and Arizona State was interested in him. And he went to Arizona State to be the shortstop. He played 8 games, did not hit well. And they said, Ian, sit down. We're going to put the shortstop back where he belongs, who was the original shortstop before Ian came along. You know who that was? Dustin Pedroia.
Oh, no way.
Ah, interesting.
So you could see
Wait,
the.
so sorry, I have a question. Did he go to Arizona State after his first full season at Central Arizona, or was it after his fall semester at Central Arizona?
It was after his first full season.
Okay.
He went,
Okay. So he went to Arizona State the fall of his second year of college.
right. So
Got
he
it.
went, ball, tore it up, and Arizona State said, come here.
Got it. Okay.
So that was his sophomore year.
Right.
So on the bench again, keeping book. Anyway, he goes there, doesn't play his sophomore year, sits on the bench and tells the coach, I'm transferring. He was already drafted twice. Drafted at a high school with 1 junior college offer. Drafted after his freshman year, and he went to Arizona State and said,
Wow. Was there what was the thought process in that?
I think, well, here's how the scenario was. He worked out for the Diamondbacks, did well after his freshman year because they have to decide if they're going to draft him or not. And I was talking to the scout, and I said, how'd the workout go? And the scout said, the workout was fine, but we've never had a 19-year-old kid tell us he's not ready to play professional.
Interesting.
Think about that going back to when he was younger, saying, Dad, I know I'm playing professional baseball. I know it. So
Yeah.
he had so much confidence in himself that he was able to do that kind of thing and say, I'm not prepared. I'm not ready. I want to play college baseball. He went to college 1 year at Missouri because he transferred from Arizona State and got drafted. Again, Dad, I'm signing. I said, yeah, it's out of my hands right now. You do it. So he signed with the Rangers, and the rest is history. It's a lot of history. A lot of history.
Wow.
So some of the things.
Yeah. So he, after having been to, is that 3 colleges in 3 years, he felt that he was ready.
Very good. 3 colleges in 3 years. That's it. That doesn't sound too good, but you know, in the seminars I do for parents, is that was his pathway.
Right.
Right.
and he knew his pathway. I was there to guide him, but the pathway was pretty much already established when the individual has such devotion to what he accomplished.
Definitely.
So
That's interesting.
yeah.
So
So
I'm
go
curious,
ahead, Dad.
actually.
Yeah.
He so in high school he played second base for 2 years, and you said was a good hitter. And did you say it was all conference as well, or all state?
Yes, but
Okay.
He played second base in his I'm sorry, second base his junior year, shortstop his senior year.
Okay. So he did end up playing short his senior year.
Yeah.
And he was drafted after high school, but concurrently he had no Division One offers, or any offers from in during his senior year. Is that correct?
Yes, no offers from even junior colleges, except for
Right.
the one local.
Which came in the summer after, right?
It was
So how was
the senior year.
yeah. So how was he? I guess a question I have is, was he going through that senior year, and obviously he had plenty of confidence. Did he feel discouraged at all when he wasn't getting any offers? Was he wasn't discouraged, or how was he mentally at that point?
Well, here's when I do mental management things with players and I do stuff with parents about it, is if you're a good athlete and a good player, and this could be for you too, Joe, think about this, is one, you never lose confidence. You might be disappointed, but you shouldn't. Once you start losing confidence, it's really hard to get it back. So I would say he was more disappointed in himself and or others. He kept it outside of him and said it was I'm just not good enough.
Right.
Because if you can't and you don't believe in your heart how good you are, it's really hard to climb that mountain.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How do you get them to that? How do you help an athlete get to that point before they're getting to the higher levels where everyone's trying to tear you down, basically?
Right. And that's a great question. I did things such as I would drive around the neighborhood and pick 2 or 3 kids up with Ian and practice with them, double plays, blah, blah, blah. And Ian was able to show off, so to speak, in that he was better. He didn't show off, he was just better. I'm just
right.
that was a confidence builder. When
Right.
played with the other kids in the neighborhood, when we played kids outside of the neighborhood, I would always pick a kid or two up and play with them and have him work with Ian. Not work with him, but train with Ian. I'm just big into believing in yourself. My psychology background is very important to me about people's behaviors and the mind. And I'll have this argument with my son probably tonight, is that I've said, Ian, it's all 100% mental. And he said, Dad, it's not 100% mental. It's like 70-30. I said, okay. I said, if you say so, let me ask you a question, Ian. If I reached into your head, and I say this to every kid, I've worked with pros, little guys, if I reached into your head and took out your brain, can your body do anything? No. It's 100%, Ian. Something's going on that created some kind of physical change, an attitude change, whatever it is.
Right.
And when you start talking like that, kids, I think, tend to buy in because they know that's a fact. They know that. And they see that you're really digging deep to care. So one of the things I talk about is how to find the right fit for an instructor or a team. Lots of questions from parents about, should I try out for more than one team? Of course you should. Why not? How else are you going to see the coach, and how else are you going to see how they interact, and how is your kid going to interact? Does he look comfortable? Does he look like he fits? And their primary thought is the team good? And it doesn't matter if the team's good if your son's not in a comfortable place. So
Yeah, I think it is a common mistake. I would agree that parents seem to want to be on the best team possible when that may not be the best fit at all.
right. And that, the more you can talk to parents, which I've talked to a lot in these seminars, and their eyes open, but the behaviors can't change in one seminar. But it gives them food for thought. Example, don't say anything about the umpire, the other kids, the other coach, your coach, who's batting when. I said, you need to focus on your son and his development and how he handles making an out or striking out or making an error, or how he's handling winning and losing, and how he interacts in the dugout with the other guys. That's what you should be watching. Don't watch the umpire's strike zone. It has nothing to do with it. So we lose sight of what we don't know really, we parents sometimes don't know what the real goal is. At least we don't want to say what the real goal is. But they don't understand the pathway to get to what that real goal is, whether it's playing high school, whether it's playing for the best team in the state, whether it's for playing professional. There's a lot that goes into it.
And I was wondering if there were times where, he was going through a rough patch and he was, either struggling for confidence or just the results on the field weren't what he was looking for, and how he sort of maintained confidence.
I think Ian was always self-assured in his skill level. When you have a skill level, sometimes your expectations aren't met. And you could start seeing things like failures versus like learning. He always had confidence, even when he failed. He was the smallest guy on the team. He didn't hit home runs in Little League, other guys did. He was up crying, Dad, how come I can't hit home runs? At 11 years old, at 12 years old. And he just had a drive with that competitive spirit. And that's the stuff that feeds confidence. Everybody feeds confidence.
So do you feel like his desire and sort of motivation to be as good as he could be helped him have confidence?
Yes. And okay, I think that whole, not failure, but the challenge to be one of the guys, because he never was. He was smaller, he was skinnier, he was a little younger maybe. So that was a barrier that he always felt that he was underestimated.
Right.
The story I wanted to tell you, which is interesting because I think it pertains to all players, no matter what the skill level, and that is the confidence factor and how to get it and how to keep it and how to manage it, because it comes and goes. It's high, it's low, it's medium, and everything in between. And you need to know how to manage that no matter how old you are when you're aware of what's happening. So a youth player that's not hitting well, or a youth player that's not pitching well, they're not succeeding, they always have to reach back to their pocket to remember that they're confident. And I say that because when Ian was in the World Series against the Dodgers and he made an error that caused the game to be tied, and Boston would have won the series, but Dodgers tied it, and it was on Ian's error. So a friend of mine said, how's Ian? Is he okay? And I said, yeah, that's a good question. I think I'll text him. So I did text him, and I said, you all right with that error? Everything okay? That was my confidence check-in. And his response was, Dad, I've won 2 Gold Gloves. I'm always confident. I never lose confidence. So it may be at a different level, but the same concept.
Yeah, definitely.
If you can get it and have somebody give it to you and maintain it and start seeing what it really is and who you are, it could get stronger. And that's what I do.
Absolutely.
Right. When I do minor league guys, whatever.
Yeah. So I guess you're sort of almost saying that as you have confidence in yourself while you're developing, and eventually you see your own success, that kind of breeds more confidence in yourself as well.
Correct. Because the success may come at different times.
Yeah.
So if you use confidence too quickly, then you don't get an opportunity for any other chances. Because you're always battling, feeling like you failed. And if that's what you're battling, being successful is real difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
And you play baseball and you've been in the ups and downs.
Yeah.
There's something there inside the individual that just keeps going.
Howard, do you think the competitiveness combined with, maybe early success in terms of actual performance kind of combined to make a more durable confidence level? Or do you think that was it periodic periods of performance that really boosted his overall confidence level, and then the competitiveness would take over and just say, I can do this? I'm curious if you think, how you view that.
Well, I just think confidence comes in so many different ways and so many different time frames and events. It all goes into building confidence. And I was just talking to a parent, as a matter of fact, that it's very common for them to say he just needs confidence, he has the skill. And when you start discussing skill versus confidence, you need to figure that out, because it may take longer to give confidence to a kid that still needs to learn some skills. So it's kind of a very touchy situation, in fact, with younger players. And so I talk to them about finding the right fit for instructor, or finding the right fit for a team, so that he'll have an ability to gain confidence if it's there for him.
Do you, I guess I'm thinking back to sort of his college story, and, as that he moved around a little bit. Do you think that, or I guess, how did you see that confidence play out in college, and especially as he was looking at the different places that he could play? What were, some of those conversations like with you, and how did you see that confidence in him while he was making those decisions?
Well, I didn't really become aware of how much confidence Ian had. And I don't like really using his example in some ways because he's unique. He's not your average kid. And the skill level wasn't something he needed to overcome.
Yeah, yeah.
So to say for all kids, this is confidence and this is how it shows and this is how you get it, it's different. And those things, as far as Ian is concerned, I can't believe how lucky I was as a father, because when you look at it as a parent, you're too emotional, you're too focused on your child. Everything outside of your child is the reason why he's not succeeding. And so I had to look at all those things. Ian transferring and not playing, Ian, the littlest guy on the field, and all that kind of stuff. I had to remove myself from the emotion. And that's almost impossible to do. But if kids that have parents that were athletes have a benefit of that experience that they could share and recognize how to deal with their son or daughter that's starting to begin sports, because it's a different arena.
Yeah.
So it's most parents weren't athletes, so they are 100% emotional. So it's a difficult balance that I went.
Dad, I'm curious about how, do you feel like you, when Bowden and I and Torsten now, as we've grown up and gone on to play sports, do you feel like you've been able to be sort of more logical as opposed to emotional about our sports? And Howard just said it's just about impossible to do that. Dad, how do you feel like you've been able to manage that?
Well, I managed it in younger days, youth and high school, I'll say, by trying to keep a perspective on my son versus everybody else, and understanding that there's a lot of good players. There's a lot of average players. There's a lot of players that aren't that good. So for me to get overly emotional with how good he was, supposedly, was, do you know there's like thousands of kids that are as good as you? So I kept that perspective, having played and always seeing, geez, this guy's better than the last guy. And having, those experiences kept me a little bit grounded. But I would walk around the neighborhood with my wife, like every other father, and say, maybe we should transfer. Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should do that. It's the coach. But I was able to tamp it down pretty well. But when you're with your wife and there's no one else you could talk to, and she's the only that's going to listen to it, I was a father. I was emotional.
Gunnar, I would say that, there's a level of the parents' ego tied up into their kids, whether you want it to be or not. And so, whether the parent had athletic success or not can be a major driver of the emotions. For me, I always looked at it, I had sort of the long view that how over time the three of you would excel, and that you would have lots of temporary setbacks. So unlike I guess Howard describing Ian and just this tremendous confidence level. I think there was a lower confidence level that the three of you had, but I felt all along that, until you were fully grown athletes at a, mid 20s age, you couldn't really determine whether or not you were good or not. And given my experience, I was as I became older and more mature, I just got better and better at sports. So there was always kind of a low grade confidence that I tried to instill in the three of you, that don't quit, don't stop, just keep competing, and always try to win, and over time, if you keep at it, you'll win,
Yeah. And telling us that we're not allowed to say that we can't do anything until we're 25 years old.
Exactly. Exactly.
But let's not get into like the family strife right now. Okay. Don't put your son into that. He knew how good he was when he was 6.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, I would say that Howard, our experience was somewhat different in terms of, all three of our sons were kind of different levels of athleticism and different tools of athleticism. Right. And so I was always kind of like trying the Rubik's Cube, if you will, of their talents, to sort of keep twisting them and turning them and see where they excelled.
Right.
And Gunnar happened to be able to throw really well, and I knew nothing about it, to be honest. But, he had passion and clearly had some talent. And so, if a kid has passion and competitiveness, I think eventually the confidence gets bred into that. That's a bit of my view on how to instill it in kids. I mean, if they don't have a passion for it, it's not going to matter anyways,
Right. But there's questions out there that people ask that there's almost no answer, because it happens so differently to everybody. The question of, when do you know you shouldn't play anymore? Well, who's asking? A parent or a player?
Yeah, definitely.
How do you know when your son has potential? How do you know if he's going to make the varsity? How do you, all of these questions, and they could all have passion and commitment. But, at some point, your skill level advances to where you can start climbing that ladder.
Right.
Because if your skill level advances too late, you're not going to climb the ladder for college when you're 28 playing in a men's league and doing great.
Yeah.
It's all done already. College is done. So trying to figure all of those questions out is almost impossible for the average parent, because there's more average parents and there's more average kids than there are exceptional kids. Way more. And I kind of like talking about Ian to some degree, because it's a great story, but it's a totally different path. It's like, how many people get to do what he's done? So when you evaluate players, for instance, yourself, having been involved in baseball, you have some level of experience where you can go see 5 kids having a catch that are 8 years old and say, this kid has a chance to play high school baseball. So now try to translate that for a parent who doesn't know what you're talking about. Like, is he really that good? So there's so many tentacles.
Yeah, Howard, I would say one of my to use a friend of mine, Bruce Donaldson's terms, one of my North Star points is that, you know, if the kid wants to keep trying at something, or, well, the child has to work their butt off at something, right? And that's going to instill a level of diligence and discipline that changes their life for the better throughout their life. And so I always said to the boys, you know, if you don't like baseball or whatever sport it is, that's fine. Let's go get you an instrument and you can practice that an hour a day. But
Yeah,
you
I
got to
remember
practice.
you telling us those when you were upset at us for not practicing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still say it all the time to Torsten. And, you know, I'm a firm believer that sports isn't necessarily the best. You don't necessarily get the best outcome because there's high variation of talent, but you get so many lessons out of it that transform a child's life into a much better path, much better mindset. I've seen it with people that are not athletes. They get sidetracked emotionally, or, you know, other things can set them back more easily. And so I guess that's kind of, you know, I would say much more of my approach than,
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if you can actually instill confidence. That's a
Yeah.
tough,
Well, you know, you're
really tough to do, you know?
You're absolutely right. That's why it's difficult talking about the people that have succeeded, because there's so few of them, and to use them as
Yes.
an example is cheating the kid who can't be what that person was,
Yes.
or can't relate mentally to what it takes. But
Yeah.
sports, in back to your, made a great point. I've always said that if your son or daughter plays sports until they're 9 and they only started at 8, you just help them develop as a person, because
Yes.
they have to deal with failure, success, teammates, coaches, parents, umpires, and their exposure is very different than a kid that either does piano lessons with one-on-one, or a kid that doesn't have a passion for anything.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the parent's job, in my estimation, in my years of doing counseling and stuff, is we are responsible for recognizing and enhancing our children's natural skills and or what they're best at. That doesn't mean
Absolutely, Howard. That's a great point.
Yeah, it's not, that doesn't mean it's going to work, but it's our responsibility to let them flourish in something that they are good at, love, have passion, whatever you want to call it. And time will tell them. A parent's job is recognizing what the child has the best skill in, if it's math, if it's art, if it's baseball. And I think that's why a lot of parents put their kids in different activities, because there might or probably be one that he or she feels passionate about. And we'll see where that takes.
Exactly. And it's a lot easier for anybody to work harder and put more time into something that they enjoy and that they're naturally good at than something that they don't enjoy, right?
Right. The naturally good part is the confidence builder.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, when you can
That's
see
why
yourself succeed.
Which you'll be someday, I'm sure, is that's what you're looking at, is you're looking at a human being that's good at something or loves something, whether they're 8 and they're always drawing, or whether they're 8 and they're singing all the time and they start sounding like wow and they love it. It's your job to nurture that.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah, and I mean, do you feel like you told the story in the first part about picking him up and having him play with other kids that were in the area and all that kind of thing. Um, do you feel like, because I know that for me, at least like at a certain point, I pass in terms of like skill, like ability level, my dad and my parents like being able to help me with that. Do you feel like there was a point when that happened for him, and sort of how did that?
Talking about him,
Yeah, Ian. Yeah.
he want my help.
Like, well, I guess it's different since he was an infielder, but I like the example that I'm thinking about is when I started throwing too hard to play catch with dad, and it was a point where he was like, I can be there for you, but I can't play catch with you every day. And
Right.
so was there a turning point like that?
I worked out with him. I mean, I started training, so-called, him when he was 4 or 5, just talking to him and doing weird things with him to work his um, athleticism, to say the proper word. But I always was able to hit the ball hard enough for an infielder, and
Yeah.
I was always able to catch. Now, if my son was a pitcher, I'd probably say I can't catch you anymore.
Yeah.
So, and I played baseball and I played basketball. So I was able to stay involved physically with him and throw
Yep.
batting, all that stuff.
Well, I was just gonna wrap it up. Is there anything else that you want to add? Any more thoughts that you have? Just go for it if you would like to.
Yeah, there's a quick thing I do want to say is I've been doing this for youth sports for a while, obviously. Um, and Jose Vasquez, that who is the head strength and conditioning guy with the Rangers, Texas Rangers, and him and I have met several times to discuss the possibilities of starting a resource center, so to speak, for parents of youth athletes, high school athletes, college athletes that need somewhere or someone to give them answers or ask questions to. Um, so Jose Vasquez and I are probably going to do something pretty quick. We've already come up with a name, but
Yep.
it
Yep.
says it all, and it's baseball advocacy group. So that when someone says, "Should I try out?" the questions that we all get, we want people to be able to
Yeah.
email somewhere and feel confident that they're getting the right answer without
And informed advice. Yeah.
without having to pay too much for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Instructors and all of them want to tell you how good your kid is, because otherwise you wouldn't come to them anymore. But a place and a resource for them, for someone to advocate for them and give them strategies and pathways and all the things we've talked about as they grow and develop, having that outlet, that someone that's not emotional and tied to it, available. So we're going to do
Yeah, for sure.
seminars for parents. We'll have individual program plans for players. Um, Program plans will include, depending on age and skill level, there'll be mental stuff and how to manage, the mental side of the game,
Yeah.
etc. So I just needed to say that because
Yeah.
we both,
Yeah. No, that sounds awesome.
yeah,
That's a great idea, and I feel like that's something that a lot of people could really use. Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. This was Howard Kinsler, father of Ian Kinsler, who was a major league infielder for a long, long time, won a bunch of awards, World Series, Gold Glove, all that good stuff. And yeah, Howard, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time.
my pleasure. Have a
Yeah.
good.
So awesome insight from Howard. Thanks everyone for watching. And yeah, Thank you. Bye.